What is up, YouTube? It is the Ville Outdoors here. Today is the morning of October the 4th of 2024, and here we're on one of the local creeks here in Chester County. This is about a half-hour drive from my house, and we are going to be fishing for trout hopefully today. We are in the season of the fall stockings now, and I really had no intentions of fishing today until I just checked the trout stocking website last night and saw that this creek had been stocked just a couple days ago according to the state website. So that's what brought me out here today, and we are going to see if we can get some stock trout on the board. They're just going to be doing some catch and release fishing. This is a delayed harvest end of the creek, so those rules apply, meaning you can only use artificial lures and you can only harvest fish during certain times of the year. So we're just gonna see if we can get some fish on the board to begin with. Getting off to a very early start. As you can see, we're still in low light conditions and it's a pretty hazy morning. A lot of fog out on the creek. It kind of looks like a scene out of The Walking Dead. It's a little bit after 7 in the morning. Sunrise was at 7:01. Looks pretty shallow here. I'm gonna move down to my honey hole. The last time I was here on March 1st of this year, I had a lot of success out of this hole over here. So that's what we're gonna be looking for. If they did stock trout in here, they definitely put a good amount of them in this hole up here. So we're gonna get casting around this gold trout magnet here. That's what we're gonna get started with. Confidence bait, one of the lures I have the most success with when I'm stock trout fishing. So we're gonna throw this around and see if we can get bit. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Hopefully this ends up being a video and that we catch what we're after, but we will just have to see. Well guys, we got our first trout of the day, but it's probably the most puny one you'll ever see. There he is. Gonna go ahead and wet our hands so I can get a better view of him. Now I hope this isn't the only one I catch today, because that would be pretty pathetic. But it is a rainbow trout. Let's see if he'll cooperate for us. There we go. Just a very small rainbow trout there. But that is what we came to catch, a trout, just barely hooked. So we're just gonna go ahead and let this guy go. He is not picture or thumbnail worthy. There he goes. He's gonna swim back behind my legs. All right, well, let's see if we can upgrade from that, because that is not the size of the fish we came here for. I kind of had to figure these fall trout would be a little bit smaller than the springtime trout. I didn't think we were going to be catching them that small, but you know, we got the skunk off. Well guys, as it turns out, this is not going to be as easy as I initially thought it was going to be. These fish are being quite picky, and yeah, being quite picky. The water is still like fairly warm for them, so I don't blame them for not being totally active, but they're just not really that hungry. I had a few bites on the trout magnet, switched over to the Berkeley power worm. I got a couple follows but no bites, so I switched back up to the trout magnet. This one that I have on now is a little bit of a purple color, but still the only one we've caught has been that tiny rainbow trout on the gold trout magnet. So I'm gonna keep walking down the creek here, see if I can get down to the next hole, and hopefully there's not too many other people fishing and I can squeeze in a spot and try and get some more fish on the board. Get down, I gotta walk back up this way to get back to my car anyway, so maybe we'll try that spot again if there's no one in there when we get back. Right now, things are looking bleak. I came in with high hopes, but those hopes are a little bit faded right now. All right, we made a little bit of a move of spots. The spot that I planned to fish, because it was on the PA website that it got stocked recently was not working out for us whatsoever. There's lots of, I wouldn't say lots of fish, but there was fish there. They were all pretty small, and they were not the healthiest looking of fish. There's a fish. What do we got here? Looks like a sunfish of some sort. Yep. It's a bluegill, so we're already starting off better than our last spot, except we ended up with a trout at the last spot. This one looks like it might be a hybrid of some sort. It's got a little bit of orange there on the gill, a little bit of a longer gill flap there for a bluegill, so this might be hybridized with a pumpkin seed possibly. But we're just going to go ahead and let that guy go. So I hopped over to this creek, and I don't think there'll be trout here. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. But the reason I decided to come here over another spot is because I've caught wild trout here in the past. I only caught 2 of them ever out of this creek, but I figured if there's any spot that could hold holdover stocked fish, it would be this creek here, because the fact that it does sustain a little bit of a wild trout population. So that's the reason why I'm here. There's a fish. That was actually a largemouth bass. He fell off the hook, but we're getting action here, so it proves that this was a good move to make, because I'd rather catch, you know, a little bit of multi-species than catch trout. Not that I don't like catching trout, it's just that the trout we were catching are too small. There we go. There's our largemouth bass. He decided to come back with the trout magnet. I think this is a different one than the last one we got. I'll start taking some pictures of fish just so we have them on record. But we're going to go ahead and let this guy go shortly after. Alright, our largemouth bass is ready to go back in the water. He's good to go. So I have about 2.5 hours to fish here before I have to leave, because I have to go to work today at 2:30 as we pull up another species. This is the rock bass. You guys saw a bunch of these guys in my last video if you tuned into that. This one's pretty small. There he is. Getting a lot of bites here, which I like. And I haven't even fished the juicy holes yet. Here's a fish. Oh, I didn't get to see what that was. It looked like it was a chub of some sort. There we go. Oh man, these fish are biting instantly. They're liking this trout magnet. There's a fish. Let's see what we got here. He's jumping. Oh, it's a fall fish. Thought maybe we got our trout. Come on, buddy. There we go. Fall fish. These guys are pretty darn slimy. Go ahead and unhook this guy. There you go. There's a fish. Another fall fish. Yep. There he goes. In the net. This guy got himself tangled up, but gonna pop that trout magnet out of his mouth and hopefully get this line untangled. There we go. So we got a hybrid sunfish, a largemouth bass, a rock bass, and 2 fall fish, probably in the span of 10 minutes or less. of fishing this one hole. The amount of life in here is pretty crazy. Well, we got ourselves another species on the day. This is a smallmouth bass. If you would stop flopping around, I can show him to you. There he is. Just a little guy. Go ahead and get this trout magnet out of his mouth here. There he is. And we're just gonna send him back. Well, what turned into a failed stock trout fishing session has turned into a pretty decent multi-species fishing session. If we include that rainbow trout, I believe we're up to 5 species. We got rainbow trout, blue-gill hybrid, largemouth bass, rock bass, and fall fish. So I think that's around 5. There we go. A little rock bass here. These fish are all pretty cold, so this water must be kind of chilly. That's a tiny one. Well guys, I can say I did not expect to see our friend the yellow perch show up today. This is the first one I've caught here in years, but that is definitely what that is, a yellow perch. So we're going to go ahead and take a shot of this guy just so we can document it, and then we're going to go ahead and give him a nice release. Alright, we got our yellow perch unhooked here. Oh, that wasn't really the release we wanted, but there he is, going back to his home amongst the trees. That's where he came from, over there. How about that, guys? We got ourselves a second yellow perch. This honestly looks like the same one I just caught, maybe slightly smaller, but yeah, I did not expect to find more than one yellow perch in here. Maybe it's just like a fall thing, that they're plentiful in this creek. I don't know. But that's already more than I caught in my last video, and there was tons of perch there. There's a fish. Rock bass, yep. This one's a little bit better size here. Go ahead and plop him back in the water. Got a nicer rock bass coming up here. He does not want to pose for us. There you go. That's a nice one. This one's on a watermelon seed colored trout magnet. You can see it there in his mouth. Pretty one. Hook popped out nice and easy. Give him one last look. He's off to go. There's a fish. That looks rock bass, and it is. This time on the bottom of the mouth. Basically, we're just casting in these deep pockets here. There's tons of structure over here, which is why this place is so filled with rock bass. This is a good sized rock bass here. Look at the size of this guy. Holy mackerel. He does not want to stay still. There he is. We'll take a shot of this guy. This guy's a big one. I don't catch many rock bass in that size bracket. I think the state record is like 3 pounds. This guy's not even a pound, so I can't imagine what a 3-pound rock bass would look like. But that's a good one there. All right, say goodbye to our rock bass. He's gonna get ready to go here in a second. There he goes. Now there's a big rock right around here in the middle, and I just casted towards that, just behind it actually, and that fish came out to grab it. But you can see the water is clear enough. Probably can't see it from the camera, but I can see through my polarized glasses that there's a big rock there. That is quite the small largemouth bass there. That one's not winning any tournaments. He's just gonna go back in the water. Barely felt that guy bite. There we go, guys. We got ourselves a true bluegill. This is not a hybrid. We got the smaller opercular flap, smaller mouth. The spot on the dorsal fin there. All this points to being a bluegill. So if we're not counting hybrids, we got ourselves a true bluegill. So we can go ahead and let this guy go. We're coming here to the end of the hole. I don't think I'm gonna continue too much further, just because I don't have off today. I got to be at work later, and I don't want to be out too long, because I still need to eat lunch and get cleaned up before I head in. So we'll give this a few more casts and see if we can find our trout. It doesn't look like we're going to, as I just got snagged on a rock. Well, I might as well just retrieve that lure and call it a day, because we'll probably ruin this hole after that. All right, guys, that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. The damage was done pretty much all on the trout magnet here. I tried to use a gulp power worm earlier in the day when we were trout fishing. That didn't work out. I only caught one rainbow trout, and that was on a gold trout magnet with a 1/64 ounce jig head. And this is just straight on 6-pound Leland Lures S.O.S trout line. I don't have any split shot on here, any bobber, any float, anything like that. Just straight line to the jig head there. That's the trout magnet dart jig head. And that's what caught the rainbow trout earlier today. Fishing there was pretty brutal. There was very little fish in the holes that were stocked, and it seemed like the stocking was pretty much inconsistent throughout the stream. Part of that, I believe, is due to the drought we had later in the summer. I guess the hatcheries may have had some difficulties with the fish, keeping them healthy and all that stuff. So the ones that they stocked were very stunted, didn't look too good, and they weren't feeding the way they should be. So could just be that we just sucked at fishing today, but it could be that it just wasn't meant to be today. So is what it is. We turned it on its head though and put together a good multi-species day. So if we're counting that rainbow trout we caught at the first part of the video, we got rainbow trout, and then once we moved here we got bluegill, rock bass, fall fish, largemouth bass, and we got smallmouth bass and yellow perch. So 7 species all on the trout magnet, which is only one shy of what we caught in our last video, and 3 of those were micro species. So pretty good, all things considered, that we were only using one lure to catch them all. So much more enjoyable than it would have been if we just stuck at the trout spot and just went through agonizing cast after cast with no fish. So I'm glad I decided to make a move, even though there was no holdover trout like I may have suspected there to be. But yeah, so if you did enjoy today's video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The gear I use, the rod, the reel, the line, etc., that'll be left in the description down below. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you guys on the next episode of the Ville Outdoors. Maybe we'll go after some wild trout. Maybe it'll be going up to North Jersey for some pike. We will see. Not sure entirely, but I know we're going to be doing pike fishing at some point within the next week or so. So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. Last time I didn't do so well. But I will see you guys next time.